This is the Louie T Network.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to Lockdown Coverage Week number 12 in the National Football League. Miami Dolphins taking on the New England Patriots. A little bit of AFC East family business. You know how the family do it. And Patriots taking care of business the way they're supposed to against a bad Dolphins football team. No Jay Cutler. I don't know if that was a bad thing or a good thing, but Matt Moore with a back-breaking interception. I thought that was the turning point of the game. And I'm not saying that the Dolphins were going to win this game, but any hopes of trying to be competitive and winning this football game went out the window when he threw that egregious interception right before the half, picked off by Stephon Gilmore, and really that was the beginning of the end for the Dolphins in this football game. And as many mistakes as the Patriots made in this game, giving the Dolphins ample opportunities to hang around. They're just so bad, all the Dolphins, and they found a way to squander every single opportunity known to mankind in this game, and really allowed the Patriots to run away and hide with this football game, 35-17, to run their record to 9-2. And what is that now? Are we at 7 in a row for the Patriots? They were once 2-2 on the season, correct? If not 2-2, 3-2, but in any event, it's either 7 or 6 in a row for the Patriots. They've been outstanding, and this was a nice win for them at home, and they got a big one in the division. They go from the bottom feeders in the division in the Dolphins to the team that right now sits in second place in this division in the Buffalo Bills, and they got a big win on the road versus Kansas City. The inexplicable benching of Tyrod Taylor is over. They're back to playing solid football, get a big win on the road versus Kansas City, and so now they're heading into that game with a little bit of confidence. And who knows, maybe they'll make it a really good football game next week against this Patriots football team. But the most impressive thing I saw from the Patriots in this game was the run game with Louie. I thought that was the most impressive thing and the biggest takeaway I had from this game. I know Brandon Cooks is a stud, and he's been outstanding with Brady in this offense. We know about Gronk and what he brings to the table. Amendola, the list goes on and on and on. I mean, hell, you're even getting Anthony Dorsett coming in playing some good football for these guys. Or Philip Dorsett, excuse me, Anthony Dorsett. What the hell? What am I doing here? Philip Dorsett even catching some passes, making some plays for this Patriots offense. But the story was the run game in Louie for me offensively. 15 carries, $112. It seemed like he was making it happen in the run game, breaking tackles, hitting seams. He's got the explosion back. We've seen this guy deal with a number of injuries. It's so good to see him back at full strength because he's such a fun player to watch. And he's making guys miss left and right. He was hitting holes with explosion, jumping over defenders in the hole. He was doing it all in this football game. And if they can get that kind of a run game consistently, and it doesn't really matter who's back there, Rex Burkhead, Louie, Mike Gillislee, I don't give a damn who it is. If they can get that kind of production out of the running back position, even if it's 3 guys collectively doing that, they're going to be a scary team come January because we know Brady can throw it with the best of them. We know Brady can make the most pedestrian of weapons look like superior targets. And he's actually got the weaponry this year if Gronk can stay healthy. And I know that's a big if, but if Gronk can stay healthy with Cooks, you've got a nasty 1-2 punch. And then everybody else, there wasn't even a Chris Hogan in this game. And when he's out there, that just adds to the weaponry that Brady has at his disposal. So this was a team that we know can perform at the highest levels with the best of them because of Brady and the weapons that they possess offensively in the passing game. But when Brady can turn around and hand it off, that's when this team can take it to the next level. And I thought Lewis's performance in this game was just outstanding. Brady was hit a ton in this game, as he usually is, versus the Dolphins. He was dumped a couple of times. The Patriots made a ton of mistakes. You got the snap that was scooped up by Rashad Jones running for a touchdown, which was inexplicable. You can't do that. And you had them down at that point, 14-0. This looked like this was going to get out of control in the first half, and that botched snap and subsequent touchdown gave the Dolphins life, allowed them to hang around in this game. And then you got the Brady interception. Again, a ton of mistakes by the Patriots in this game, allowing the Dolphins to hang around. But with that being said, you made plays defensively to keep the Dolphins at bay. That pick before the half, huge. Just monumental there. And like I said, this is a Patriots team. They're starting to figure it out, and I still don't think this defense is all that great. They haven't given up a lot of points, but to me, they haven't really played a lot of good competition. The last good team that they've held down that I looked at, I said, that's impressive, was Atlanta, and the Falcons were struggling. If they were to play the Falcons right now, I don't think they would do what they did to the Falcons like they did that Sunday night about 5 weeks ago on Sunday Night Football in Foxborough. I don't think they would do that again because the Falcons have figured it out offensively, and they're starting to hit their stride now. But that was the last good offensive team I feel like the Patriots have seen since this defensive resurgence that we've seen. Haven't played the best of competition, which is hard to fathom because, again, you're the Patriots, you're playing a first-place schedule, but, it always helps when you're playing within that AFC East, which is just brutal every year. It's just garbage every year, and they mop it up. They do what they're supposed to do. They're a really good team, and then, we thought the AFC West was going to be better than what it was. The Broncos stink. The Raiders stink. And so you played the Broncos, the Raiders, and now you get the Dolphins. You had the Jets in there during this stretch. It hasn't been the best. And even the Jets may have been the best offensive team, and I thought they moved the football very adequately on you. So in any event, this was impressive offensively. I thought, despite the mistakes, to put up 35, to run the football as effectively as they did, to see Cooks continuing his hot football, Gronk getting involved, and no Chris Hogan, and yet you're moving the football as effectively as you did in this game. The Patriots have it really clicking right now, and the special teams continues to be a factor, and that's something else I need to make mention of, is that this special teams for the Patriots over the last month or so has just been red hot. They're contributing at a very high level. They go fake punt early in this game, and they're able to get a huge chunk play off of that on a fourth down to extend a drive that ultimately ended in a touchdown. So Patriots right now, whether it's a block punt, a fake punt, whatever, the Patriots are just absolutely killing it on special teams, as if Brady and company need any help. They're getting it on special teams. And so defensively, I didn't think they were great in this game necessarily, but it's the Dolphins. I mean, Matt Moore made some mistakes. You did have a big PI that set up some points for the Dolphins, but it's the Dolphins. They stink on offense. They proved that again in this game. Matt Moore with some egregious throws. The one before halftime, what a backbreaker that was. And so not a great game for the Dolphins, and the Patriots take full advantage. Even though they made a ton of mistakes, they dominate 35-17, get to 9-2. And like I said, the AFC not as fun to watch as the NFC because I feel like I already know what it's going to boil down to. I think it's a two-team race. It's the Steelers. It's the Patriots. Everybody else kind of fall in line with those two teams. And, obviously anything can happen. I don't think that, if you're the Patriots or the Steelers, you want to see the Chargers if they were to get in, or the Ravens, teams that can play defense, give themselves a chance. More so the Chargers than anybody else, just because they got Phillip Rivers, they got Keenan Allen if he can stay healthy, and they got a run game. And their defense, their pass rush might be the best tandem in the league with Ingram and Bosa. So they're a dangerous team right now that's kind of under the radar, that no one really wants to see get into the playoffs, because if they do, they could do damage. But let's be honest with ourselves. It's the Patriots. It's the Steelers. It's a two-team race. Whoever gets home field advantage is probably going to win that game and go on to the Super Bowl. And until someone changes my mind or I see otherwise, I see fit otherwise, that's the way it's going to be for me in the AFC. So Patriots continuing to do what they do best, win, and dominate the AFC East in the process. Meanwhile, let's quickly get to the Dolphins. I told you that when they got under 500, they were never going to see 500 again. They're now 3 games under 500 after at one point this season being 4-2, which again was a farce in itself. But they've now lost 5 straight. They're 4-7, and they look like a 4-7 team in this game. Despite all the mistakes the Patriots made, giving them opportunities, they give up a fake punt in this game. They give up just a brutal interception right before the half that took points off the scoreboard thrown by Matt Moore. You lose Damian Williams probably for the remainder of the season. Looks like he might have broken his collarbone. It's the same old story. Jarvis Landry, 8 catches, 70 yards, but you're not stretching the defense. Kenny Stills remains the only guy that can get vertical on this offense. Julius Thomas looks like he continues to eat at fast food restaurants. Hasn't been the guy that you thought you were getting in from Jacksonville, and he wasn't good in Jacksonville either. And this offense just continues to be a huge disappointment. Meanwhile, the defense, while they got pressure on Brady, they hit Brady, they harassed Brady, they still gave up huge plays in the secondary. Cooks and Gronk and Dorsett and all kinds of guys hurting you. And then the biggest, most egregious part about this defensive performance is the ground game and allowing Dion Lewis to just gut you. And he's a small scat back, and he was running right up the middle of your defense and continuously hitting you for chunk after chunk after chunk play. He was averaging every bit of 7-8 yards per tote. 15 for a $112 is ridiculous. And the Dolphins should be ashamed of themselves defensively. And like I said, it's going to go downhill. They've got the Chiefs next week. Or excuse me, they got the Broncos, if I'm not mistaken, at home. If you can't beat the Broncos at home, who can you beat? You know, and I don't know if they're going to win that game. I really don't. This is a bad Dolphins football team. I'm starting to question whether they got the right man coaching this team, because I feel like there's enough talent on this team for them to be better than they are offensively. And I just can't understand why they're so bad on offense and why everything is underneath. And I know what the philosophy is of your head coach, okay? I know what he likes to do, but at some point, if you want teams to respect anything underneath, you must stretch them vertically, which he refuses to do in this offense. And it is making it so easy for teams to key underneath and keep everything in front of them. And this team isn't good enough to put together 13-play, 85-yard, 11-play, 75-yard drives consistently. They make too many mistakes. They're not good enough. They're just not in a position where they can ill afford to have chunk plays, but they don't get them because they don't take enough shots. So Adam Gase, I'm starting to question if he's the right man for the job. I'm not saying he needs to be fired or anything of the sort. I'm just looking at him in this setup, and I'm saying to myself, do you have the right guy? That's the only thing I'm starting to wonder, because I like Adam Gase. This team won 10 games and made it to the playoffs last year. There's no reason to get rid of Adam Gase, but I think there are some things that need to be reevaluated in Miami, and one of them is, should Adam Gase be calling the plays? I truly believe that I think the entire offense needs revamping, and maybe Ryan Tannehill coming back makes this offense better. You know, maybe going out and getting a real true threat at the running back position makes this thing come together. I don't know. You know, maybe we are overrating the amount of talent that the Dolphins have. That's another possibility. But I feel like there's enough talent on this team for them to be way better than what they are on offense. And this is really disappointing to see the way that they're playing on the offensive side of the football. It's a joke, to be honest with you. I mean, this is another game where they managed to put up 10 points offensively, because that scoop and score by the defense, that doesn't count for the offense. 10 whole points. And I want to say 3 of them might have come after the Brady interception. May have. I'm not sure. So in essence, you were able to muster a full 7 points by yourself. It's a shame. This Dolphins offense is a joke. And that's supposed to be the specialty of your head coach. And that's the worst part of this team. And I think maybe Gase needs to relinquish that to someone else. And maybe it may be for the best for him to just focus on the entire health of the team instead of just focusing solely on the offense. Because I don't think he's doing a good enough job at either right now. I think this team is in disarray. You look around and everybody's walking on eggshells. Is this guy going to get traded? Is that guy getting traded? And then you turn around and you look at this offense and he continues to criticize this offense, which he's in control of. Well, what does that say about you? If you're talking about guys not taking it home and not caring enough, what does that say about you? It's your job to make sure that these guys care enough. If they don't, then they don't need to play. Get other guys in there that will. But you can't complain about guys not taking it home, not taking it serious enough, and still continue to play those same guys. So, again, some things need to be evaluated. There's something wrong in that locker room, in that organization right now. Remember Lawrence Timmons and his situation at the beginning of the season where he was sent home? There's something going on behind closed doors there. Of course, the Ajayi trade and all of the things, all the fallout from that. And is Jarvis Landry going to be traded? Isn't he? And he's sending out subtweets. There's a lot going on there. Things need to be reevaluated. But I said all that to say this. The Dolphins stink. They proved that again this week, and they'll probably prove it again next week and the week after that. If they win 2 more games this season, that'll be a miracle because they're a bad football team. As they lose 35-17 to New England Patriots. We'll get to any comments that may be out there. Shouldn't be too many. But anyway, Josh Berman says, Jay Cutler is going to start next week if he can, but I still think it should be Matt Moore starting because he's better in my opinion. Really, at this point, I'm a Matt Moore guy, but he's a backup. In week after week, he proves why he's a backup. Matt Moore giveth, Matt Moore taketh away. And you saw that in this game. For all of the good that Matt Moore can do, all it takes is, and we've seen it throughout the league, backups proving that they're backups. And Matt Moore did it again in this game. So Jay Cutler, Matt Moore, I don't really know if it matters at this point. Offense is just not good right now. Buffalo pregame says, nice to have you back from your bye week. Do you think the Bills have any chance against either of these teams in the upcoming weeks? Absolutely. They should beat Miami, and they got a shot at home next week. I think that the Tyrod Taylor fiasco is behind them. They get a big win on the road. That's the kind of galvanizing win you need to get the amount of momentum necessary to take down a Patriots team that's playing good football right now. So we'll see what happens. Amandraw says, do you have any word on the whole Greg Schiano, Tennessee situation? I remember the Redskins once upon a time, fan base standing up in unison and saying, if you hire Jim Fossil, and this was after the whole Joe Gibbs retiring the second time around, and Jim Fossil was the name that was floated out there, and the entire fan base stood up as one and said, if you hire Jim Fossil, we're done. And we scared them out of hiring Jim Fossil, and they ended up hiring Jim Zorn, which wasn't much better, but still. Greg Schiano to Tennessee, they basically shamed the fans, boosters, everyone that had anything to do with the program, pretty much shamed them out of hiring Greg Schiano. Doesn't sound like he's going to be there, so we'll see what happens with that situation. SoFlo Sports says, just found out my girl puts her shoes on in the order of sock, shoe, sock, shoe. I'm freaking out. I don't know what to do. That's unique. I'm not upset about that. But that's better than talking about Dolphins football right now. SoFlo Sports says, have you ever heard about the Indian that drank too much tea? He drowns in his own teepee. Oh, my goodness. SoFlo Sports says, have you ever take a shower and remember to put it back? Hey, look, man. I'm going to tell you this much. It's that bad. What SoFlo Sports essentially is saying is it's that bad in Miami right now that he'd rather talk about anything other than Miami Dolphins football. I don't blame him. FBG Tony says, Dolphins are trash. Pats obliterated them easily. Thoughts on Crabtree to L.A.B fight? What will be the ramifications of this foolishness? I'll talk about that more when I get to the Denver Raiders breakdown. I can't wait to actually watch it. I know that Talib snatched his chain off again, which the first time was enough that the next time that Krabs saw him, it should have been on site. But it took another chain snatching for Krabs to say, all right, man, enough's enough. My grandmama gave me that chain. Again, this time you got to pay. And so I'll be anxious to see what happens. They're both getting suspended. For how long is the question. We'll see what happens there. Ed says, my Dolphins are having a regression year. They are, but I'm not surprised that it's happening. I was surprised that they were 4-2 at one point this season. I didn't understand how they got to that point, but the defense was playing out of their minds early on in the season. They've regressed, as has the offense, and so you see the end result. Cloud says the Dolphins have been terrible this season. They shouldn't have signed Jay Cutler. He's a loser. Gase reminds me of Chip Kelly a little bit. I do get a little bit of that feel, but it's not to the same extent. He's not casting away all of the good players, but him getting rid of Ajayi wasn't a good look for the Dolphins in the current state that they're in. But maybe it was for the best because obviously they were butting heads. It didn't just happen overnight. He was having problems with Ajayi. Ajayi was obviously having problems with them. So we don't know enough of the story to say that he shouldn't have done it. This wasn't like a Westbrook, Jeremy Maclin, Deshaun Jackson situation where you're like, what are you doing getting rid of all these guys and trying to implement your scheme and getting rid of the most talented football players that we have? Gase, I don't love his offensive philosophy, especially with this team. And you're kind of seeing the offense sputter a bit. And I think he's to blame, but the quarterback position is a mess for them too. So FBG Tony says, what do you think the Dolphins team needs to improve this horrible offense? I think an elite running back, good tight end, and Adam Gase gives up play calling. They need a lot. It starts with the quarterback position. They need Ryan Tannehill healthy. That's number one. Because I think they actually have talent. So let's start there. They need a quarterback to be able to run his offense effectively. Maybe we'll feel differently about his offense. We weren't complaining about his play calling last year when they won 10 games. But this year they're not pushing the football down the field, which is insane. And so I'd like to see them assess. Self-assessment is key in this league. You have to be able to look at yourself and say, all right, what can I do better? And I think the first thing Gase needs to look at is, as a coach and a play caller is, do I need to give up play calling? Am I doing a good enough job of putting my players in a position to win? I don't know that he's doing that. So we'll see. They definitely need upgrade at the running back position, especially with the injury to Damian Williams today. That's really going to hurt them in the backfield even more so. Ed says, all I got to say is, damn, my Dolphins suck. Yeah, they do. And FBG Tony says, Crabtree got NBA Youngboy, got his ish snatched like a hoe-ass fool. It's crazy, man. I can't wait to watch that one. SoFlo Sports says, I would say I'm excited to get our draft pick, but we draft shitty anyway. All of our stars came out of the first, came from 3-round plus. It's a shame because this team has talent. I continue to say that. That's why it's so baffling to see them struggling. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. This team needs a lot of help, and I think it starts with coaching. Guys being put in better positions to make plays. And, from the coach, snorting coke, to the Jay Ajayi saga, to Jarvis Landry traded, not traded, to Lawrence Timmons being sent home week 1, to the Tannehill injury. There's so much that has happened in such a short period of time with this Dolphins football team this year. I tell you what, there's a lot that needs to happen in the offseason, to say the least. So, nonetheless, we talk way too much about the Dolphins and not enough about the Patriots. They dominated this game, 35-17. They get the win. They go to 9-2 in the season. Big game versus Buffalo. And when I say big game, that's a relative term. It's the first time they played the Bills this year. The only reason this game has any bearings on this division is because the Bills are the only team that has a remote chance of making this thing interesting. Remember, they've got the Bills twice through the Patriots, and they still got a week, let's call it 14 matchup, week 15 matchup with the Steelers in Pittsburgh. So let's say that the Bills sweep them and they lose to the Steelers and the Bills win out. You could have a situation where the Bills win this division. It's not happening. We know that. They're probably not even going to win against the Patriots at home next week, but still, that's the only reason this game has merit is because, A, if you're the Patriots, you want home field advantage. You want the number one seed. You want the Super Bowl and the road to the Super Bowl in the AFC going through Foxborough. And so you need to take care of business in the division like you always do. We'll see if they're able to do that next week on the road at Buffalo. First time those teams meet in 2017. That's going to do it for your man Louie T here on Lockdown Coverage. I'll be back, of course, at the conclusion of Sunday Night Football. We actually got a good football game, 14-14 at the half. I'm going to pick up where you guys have probably left off. Anyway, finish this game up. We'll come back. We'll chop it up here on Sunday Night Football overtime. Again, Patriots 35, Dolphins 17. Dolphins dropped to 4-7. Patriots improved to 9-2 on the season. I will see you guys a little bit later. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of Sunday Night Football.